Here on IceTime.TV for our midweek catch-up with Devils players, coaches and management. I'm pleased to say I've been joined in the rink shop by Devils general manager Todd Kelman. Todd, good to see you.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you. I've got a list of questions I've got to ask you. Some of my own, some have been sent in. First of all, it was Iron Maiden night on Sunday, of
Yes,
course.
it was. Yes.
How did it go? Was it all? Was it the publicity you wanted out of it?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was excellent. I think Bruce Dickinson had a blast. I think, yeah, it was so cool to have him down here, and I think a lot of fans didn't even know it was him. You know, he's unassuming. He doesn't have the long hair anymore, so it's probably harder to recognize him. But yeah, he had a great time. He talked about a lot. It's his first time down at the Devils. He talked about bringing one of his bandmates back next time. He loved Chuck-a-Buck.
Mm-hmm.
He was enthralled with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he liked the tribute that we gave him before the game, and the guys were pretty pumped to get him down. So,
in terms of brand awareness for the Devils and maybe where this franchise has come in 3 years, I guess it says a lot that you can associate yourself with him, Iron Maiden, and his business as well. It's just it's good marketing, it's good publicity.
Yeah, it's cool. And the thing is, like when you're marketing 35 home games a year, you need a hook every once in a while. And if he was the hook that maybe got in a couple hundred more people. You can't just put on hockey games and expect people to show up every single week. And I think people think you're in first place, you got a brand new arena, the crowds are just going to come, but they're not. No. And you need different reasons for people to come. That's why we do clap banners. That's that's why you want to come up with different promotions all the time.
Reason we've got you in today, well, you're an important person, obviously, is the reason we've got you in today. We're about a third of the way through the season.
Thanks, John. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. About a third of the way through the season, probably a good chance to catch up with you. We're sitting in, or the Devils, I should say, are sitting in first place through to the next round of the Challenge Cup. Everything seems to be sitting pretty, but what's your take on things at the moment?
Yeah, barely through to the next round of the Challenge Cup. That could have been a costly loss if we'd.
Was that in the budget? Seriously, was that in the budget? When you set out at the start of the season and
100%.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, the only time I've actually really gone in and talked to the team, we had a really poor performance. It was actually when the owners were in town. We played terrible against Sheffield. It was a sold out game. Ownership was in town. A lot of hype. We should have come out with our A game, and we played awful. And that was the first time when we lost to Nottingham or to Manchester at the beginning of the year. I thought that's the first game of the Challenge Cup, but then you lose a couple more, and you're like, geez, we might not qualify. And unfortunately, like if you don't qualify, like for us, we include the quarterfinal in the season ticket, so you got to give back 1,200 season ticket holders their money, or give them a voucher for a game next year. It would cost a lot. Plus, you then miss the semifinal. Which is an all cash game, and it's not all about finance, but that's a big chunk of money. And yeah, we budget to make the quarterfinals at least. We don't necessarily budget to make the semifinals, but we hope to every year.
Was there any particular reason you saw that the Devils did struggle in the Challenge Cup? Is it because annoying people like me keep putting such emphasis on the league title, and maybe that's drawing attention this year? Was there any reason you saw that the Devils did struggle a little bit in the early part of that?
No, I think in years past we've played our best games just coincidentally in the Challenge Cup qualifying games, and so if you look at the past couple of years, we've played great against Sheffield and Nottingham, and I think we've won our group or finished second the first 2 years that I've been here in Cardiff, and we'd look back and be like, God, what a big win we had against Sheffield, or what a big win we had against Nottingham, and you're like, yeah, but it wasn't league, and this year it's kind of been reversed. Like we've had some great results against the Steelers in the league, which is. To be honest with you, I'm glad we qualified, and we're playing Dundee, and hopefully we can advance to the next round. But I'd rather get the league wins. But I think this emphasis on the league, Challenge Cup, guys want to win everything. It's so hard. I mean, we proved it last year. We were in first place most of the year, then we fell short. We didn't win anything last year. So from our point of view, it's hard to count it as a successful season, even though we probably were in first place the majority of the year. We made the finals of the Challenge Cup, but when you don't win anything, it's a frustrating year. And one team can only win the league, and it's proven that it's been 3 different teams or 4 different teams the last 15 years. We're trying to change that trend this year, but we want to win everything, and we want to go as far as we can in every competition. So squeezing through to the Challenge Cup quarterfinals was it was a very happy day for me.
You'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
We caught up a few weeks ago when Andrew Lord got the contract extension, the 2-year extension. Obviously, between now and then, he's been on the bench sometimes, he's been playing sometimes. But just to touch on that again, he's the guy you want to build a legacy around in Cardiff. You said to us both on and off camera that maybe aside from Steve Thornton, he's the most professional guy you've worked with.
Yeah, Lord is the best coach I've worked with, and as a person, I love him as a person. I love him as a player. Ideally, I would have Andrew Lord behind the bench running things, and I'd have Andrew Lord playing on our second or third line. He's that valuable to our team. In this league, in the level of play that this league has gotten to in the last couple of years, it's hard to be a player coach because we're in first place, because we've been one of the favorites the last couple of years. It's even harder. You can watch him. He's targeted. It's like he's got a big bullseye in his back half the time, but which to me is just part of the job. But like if he wasn't our coach and he was our captain or an assistant captain, I don't think he'd be as targeted as he is.
No.
But teams go after him, and which is fine. And yeah, why not throw the player coach off the game? Because it's really hard to make decisions on the ice, and when you're tired after a game, or after a shift, it's even harder when you've just gotten run or you're cross-checked in front of the net or whatever. So I totally get that, but he balances it well. People always ask me, do you prefer him on the ice or on the bench? I prefer on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And until I think the other, what do we have, 13 forwards, the other 12 forwards, until they can prove that they're, as a unit, better without Lordo, I'd rather have him on the ice. But right now, there's games that he brings out the best in some guys on the ice. He gets more out of maybe some of his line mates sometimes. He solidifies it because he's so detail oriented. He's so good at defensively, and I think he'd be a better player if he just played. I really do. I think he knows that too, because it's hard to balance. But man, he does a good job balancing both. So, So whether it's a decision, if we're completely healthy, I know his decision would be to be behind the bench. And when he asks my advice, I'm always like, I'd rather see you in the lineup.
Yeah. Just a couple of questions that always come up on the fan forums. I know social media can be difficult sometimes, but it's interesting to put them to management. First of all, on the issue of coaching, when Andrew Lord does play, we know Jamie Elson does a great job. He's a big friend of us at IceTime.TV. He helps us out, and he's learning his trade. Has there ever been any thought of getting another experienced guy in to stand on the bench, or would that upset the dynamic a little bit?
I think for this year we've got a good dynamic. I think Jamie does a tremendous job. He works closely with Lordo, and I think the only reason really we went with Jamie and Franny moved up to a more of a game night role and a more a management role within with corporate hospitality and stuff is because it's hard for a guy in this league now to work full time during the week and then show up and be a bench coach, and it's nothing against Franny. I love Franny as a guy. I think I'll always want him involved in the organization, and I think if it was 5 years ago, Franny might be the bench coach still. It's hard because we're cutting video, we're watching so much on the other team, it's too hard to rock up the day of the game and expect to be able to know everything that we've done all week. And it's not a cut on Franny or anything like that. I just don't think coaches can do that anymore. You think of who we're going up against. Like this weekend, for example, we're going against Paul Thompson.
Yeah.
Probably, as far as British hockey goes, like with all due respect to all the guys that have coached, Paul Thompson's probably the most respected and best coach in British hockey history. When I took over as general manager, he's the guy that I went to learn about coaching. Not that I wanted to coach, but how do I hire a coach? Because I want a guy that's detail oriented like him, and so I learned a lot from him. And then he's got an assistant coach who's probably more experienced than him. So if you look at some teams, we've got a player coach and we've got an assistant coach or a bench coach that never played pro hockey, right? And so we have to work harder. We have to work harder than them because we're behind the eight ball already as far as a coaching team. But we work hard, and I'm sure there's nights when Lordo and Jamie want to stop watching video or stop talking hockey, and it's things like that. Knowing that Paul Thompson is probably up doing the exact same thing, and Corey Nielsen's doing the same thing, and Ryan Finnerty, and that's probably what keeps them motivated.
The other question that is a perennial question has probably come up the whole 30 years of Devils' existence, but it's always the talk about physicality. And now I must admit I'm a big fan of European-style hockey. I love the fast-passing game, quick transition, but a lot of Devils fans, rightly so, like the mixture with the blue-collar stuff, and obviously with Patrick Bordelow coming into the lineup this year, that ramped that up. What do you think the balance is? Are the Devils physical enough? There's questions sometimes about team toughness, etc., etc. What's your take as a guy who, maybe wasn't always the most physical in the league, but was always there to be counted?
What?
4 fights, was it? Or?
Why does the number of fights always get brought up in my interviews?
You were a tough guy.
That's the best part about being in management. You get to be tougher all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
I love tough play. I love seeing guys drop the gloves. I think it's entertaining. I think it's part of hockey that's fun to watch. Like I went to that Ice Guardians movie a few weeks ago, and I was kind of thinking, maybe the tough guys kind of lost its role in hockey, and then you go to that and you realize the tough guys love doing it. They love doing it, and I thought it was cool listening to Kevin Westgarth and Brian McGrath and talking about how much they like doing it, And yeah, it's hard. It's the hardest job in hockey, but a lot of them talked about, the reason why they got to the NHL is because they knew that was their only way they could do it. So would you be willing to do probably the toughest job in any field in order to get to the top of your game? I think anyone, there's probably a lot of guys that never made the NHL that were scorers or third line pluggers that, threw the body around and they just never made it. And maybe had they fought, maybe they would have made it, right? You don't know.
Yep.
But these guys made it because they're that tough. And there's no, I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming McGrattan, Rosehill, Bordelot are three of the highest paid guys in the league. And so people can chirp about it online and ask questions and question their why would you pay these guys? Well, because for whatever reason, they're entertaining. And I think we have lacked the entertainment here at home, and it's a trade-off because coaches and teammates, like Bordy is very tough, and we get a lot more space out there because of Bordy. I don't think teams take liberties with us on the road, definitely at home, but lately, I mean, some teams have, and like last weekend in Braid was a perfect example. Like our possibly the best player in the league, Andrew Hotham, definitely our best defenseman, and definitely the best defenseman in the league. He gets absolutely run, and you're waiting for a reaction, and we should have had a reaction. And I think our team knows that. I think our coach knows that, and he does now, because that's the first thing I mentioned to him after the game. And it's not about, I don't expect anyone to go. I never want to see someone get hurt. Nope. Never. I said it before, that stuff that happened with Tyson Marsh last year and Jansen was terrible. You never want to see that. And but I'd love to see, teams a little bit more honest against us, because, sometimes you got to drop the gloves. Sometimes a big hit isn't going to get the retribution that we need or that the fans necessarily want. And I thought there was a hit thrown on Hotham, or actually he completely missed him. Yeah. So, but I expected a reaction, and I didn't get it. And I think the whole crowd expected a reaction, and I would have liked to see it. And the players know that. It's not just Bordy. We've got a tough team, but there's no way Andrew Hotham and Andrew Lord should be leading our team in fights. And they are.
Yeah.
And so the best defenseman in the league and our player coach are leading our team in fights, and that's got to change.
Okay. We always come to you because we do get the objective view, and it's great. But things are pretty positive at the moment. We're sitting, first place in the league. Everything we hear about the locker room's great. You've brought some new guys in. Patrick Asselin, after a season off, is setting the league on fire. So glass half full as well. Yeah,
I mean, I love this team. The makeup of this club is awesome. The guys we have. I've been around a lot of hockey teams, and every team that I've ever been around, you always say at the end of the year, man, this is the best group of guys I've ever seen. So I'm not going to say it's the best group of guys. It probably is, but we'll see how we win. The best group of guys is if this group of guys wins, then this is the best group of guys I've ever had. Because as far as getting along and as far as issues in the locker room, this team gets along. I mean, there's no issues. There's no guys that don't hang out with the rest of the guys. There's no guys that when they walk out of the room, players are talking about them behind their back, which is great. And I played on teams that have been ruined by cliques and politics and wives not getting along and all that kind of stuff. And even the wives here all get along, which is great. So we have a good mix here. We have a good mix of guys, good mix of personalities, but we have some characters. I mean, there's guys that you wouldn't even know. Why is Lane Ulmer? Lane Ulmer seems to the fans probably seems quiet. Right? Lane Ulmer is a character. He's awesome. He's such a good guy. Why is he an assistant captain? Why is Mizey assistant captain? Because they're funny guys. Because they're vocal in the locker room. Because they bring something to the locker room and on the ice that maybe the fans see a bit of it on the ice. They certainly maybe don't see it in the locker room. I think everyone thinks. The guys that score all the goals are the ones that are allowed in the locker room. Well, no, every team has characters, and we got a lot of them. And then you got guys that are having great seasons, like Asselin. He's probably the best photographer that took a year off in the league. I mean, he took a full season off, and all we knew was that he was taking photography lessons. He's awesome. He's like, how did that guy, like, I mean, to take a year off and come back as strong as he has, he's awesome. He's an amazing player. He's fun to watch.
So what's your expectation right now? Has it changed since the summer? You've seen the team, you've seen the dynamic. Excuse me. You've seen the rest of the league now. You're sitting in first place. You're a few points clear. I know you set out to win everything at the start of every year, but we're a third of the way through the season. Have your expectations changed at all? Has pressure ramped up at all? What are you thinking right now?
My expectations haven't changed. I think it's just staying focused every single week, because the season is so long. I mean, until the hockey in the UK changes and playoffs are more important than the league, it's you can't take a weekend off. You can't. This is think of the NHL. You can go into a weekend and just think, we've had a tough road trip. We just gotta get through this and get back home for our home stand or whatever like that. There's 82 games. They're worried about the playoffs. They're not. They don't care if they finish third in their division or fifth in their division, as long as they're in the top 8 kind of thing. Here, you got to win the league, and it's hard. Like, I mean, I watch every game. I want, it's no bones about it. Every week, I want Sheffield to lose, because Sheffield are the ones that have won the league the last 2. So when we win, I then I don't look at scores until our game's over, because I don't want to be one that's looking at all the scores, worried about how things are going. But Sheffield, like, everyone's like, oh, you've got games, or you've got whatever 6 points clear of Sheffield. Yeah, but if they won all their games, they're ahead of us by a point. So, and that's the team you can never count out. You can never count out the Nottingham Panthers either. I think if they could change one thing, it's this whole Continental Cup thing's really hurt. Not hurting their season, it's hurting their business probably, because they got to they got to miss another weekend. Like, we're gonna have to change that game against them, because if you look at our game in Nottingham on Friday, I don't know, January 12th or something like that, that's a super final. So, I'm waiting for the call. They'll be calling me to change that game sometime.
So are you still pushing, sorry, regarding that playoff issue, which I think is an important one, and it's a discussion that will go on around the league. You've got a different opinion to me. I've got a different opinion to Aled. It's a great discussion. Are you pushing for playoffs to become most important trophy? Is there any logistical way of doing that? Do you have support around the league to do it?
I think you'll see it. Well, hopefully we'll see a change in the structure of how things work when we have 11 teams, because you can't do the conferences anymore. So this has to be the last year of the conference, or we'll keep the conference system, but like for trophy only, and you'll play equal amount of games against teams, because you can't have odd number of games. Like right now we have odd number of games against the teams, but you can't. No. If one division's 6 and one division's 5, it won't work. So I think we'll hopefully see series, come into play in the next couple of years. I hope so. But you also don't want, the league's still going to be the big one if playoff series are only 3 games, right? If playoffs go to 3-game series, it's not going to change that much. The league, until they go to, until the playoffs become a 6-week process or something like that, it's never going to change. But also, why would you, as a league, why would we want to give up the Final Four weekend?
Yeah.
To sell it basically pays our bills the whole year. That's what pays for referees and everything the whole year. It's not, we're not fleecing the fans so that we all go home with a bunch of money in our pocket. Literally, that is what pays for the league the whole year. So all our running costs are paid off by the playoffs.
A couple of housekeeping questions. This first one might be a no comment. There's always rumours circulating about this rink, about the Devils' interest in the rink. We've spoken to the owners a couple of times. Can you give us any indication what the latest is?
I have no update whatsoever. We have not spoken to them in 2 or 3 months about it.
Yeah.
So we're, we obviously would love to own our own venue, but they're, they know our intentions. They've known them for a year, and the ball's in their court whenever they want to talk. Really. So.
Do you think it's dead?
No, I don't think it's dead, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If I was selling a car.
Yeah.
And someone kept calling me to buy my car, I'd call them back.
Yeah, that's fair point.
So when they call me back, then I'll have an update.
Yeah. I guess we've got to talk about Dobbs, because it's been an interesting part of the season, and there was a nice Periscope session at a movie premiere a few weeks ago, I should say. So Simon Kirkham, the job he's doing and the way Dobbs are operating this year, there was the Fife incident. There's, of course, we had an incident on the weekend, without wishing to prejudge something, where an official was pushed.
We should do this interview after the Dobbs. We should do it like Thursday at 7
We should do it Thursday at 7 p.m.
Just
because what's going on.
Because we'll know more. We'll know what kind of job Dobbs are doing by this week's a big week for Dobbs, because they have a decision to make on.
I should phrase it in a general, so to not sort of put the player on trial, but in
it
a
can't be more general. Everyone knows what we're talking about.
We do, but I guess a player should never, or in your book, a player should never touch an official, abuse an official. That's pretty much a no-no, I'd have thought.
Well, I mean, earlier this season, Patrick Bordelot pushed a ref.
Yes, he did.
And he should have got a penalty. He should have got a match. He should have got a suspension. When the official talked to us about it, he said it wasn't a big deal. It was the heat of the moment. And I said, I don't care. Like, I don't want Patrick Bordelot suspended, but I knew that someone else is going to do it eventually.
Yeah.
And I don't want them going back to that incident going, well, he got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you watch the two, there's a difference between a small push, like, get your arm off me, to a punch to the chest.
Yes.
and I don't think, I don't think anyone in Braehead or the player himself is going to argue with whatever he gets. And if he doesn't get anything, then, wow.
Yes.
I don't know what to say.
No, I know.
I'll get fined for it. But like, if he doesn't get anything, then we really seriously have to look. But I highly, highly doubt he won't get anything.
But you felt the need to come out and obviously defend Dops after the Fife incident and what have you. So in your mind, it's not a perfect system, but it's still the best system we have at the moment. Yeah,
it's not a perfect system, but it's a system that you can follow. So, and we talked about this at board meeting. Like, yeah, it's not a perfect system. We all know that. But you want a perfect system? We need a situation room. We need a war room like the NHL has, where every single game can be monitored all the time. Where where we have a full-time head of officials and 2 assistant head of officials that can look at every single incident. But this league doesn't have the finances to do that. So fans might want that, but like, how are we going to do that? Like Simon Kirkham is Dops. He knows that. Everyone knows that. But they do now. After my
absolutely.
But he's not like so. Basically, the way it works, it's sort of like Mike Hicks does. Mike Hicks used to do it, and he does it currently for Denmark. They ask advice of a few guys, but ultimately it's their decision. And saying that publicly doesn't make it. It doesn't make me the bad guy for or it's not controversial. Like Simon Kirkham is the head of officials, and it's his final decision. Yeah, he might farm it out and ask advice of a few people, but he's an ex-official. He's a very well-respected ex-official. And
well, this is, sorry to interject again, but I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Alad here, because Alad makes this point all the time. Surely it's better that everybody knows it's Simon Kirkham.
Yeah, I don't know why it's an issue. Like I didn't know everybody didn't know.
No.
So
I thought it was you.
Well, a lot of people thought it was me. I was shocked. If it was me, geez, my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's why would we care? Like he's a very good ex-official, retired from that, and he's been involved with the league or Ice Hockey UK for years. So like, yeah, and the thing is, you also got to remember, fans see a video, they don't see the referee's report. And then they're saying, well, maybe they should. Why? Like it's still like, they might get some wrong. There's some calls I don't agree with, and I said at the board meeting, I don't agree that like Craig Peacock took a baseball swing at a guy. It didn't hurt the player. It didn't hurt Walzer. He brushed it off, but he still swung a stick at his head, like whether you like to say it or not. And sometimes you just gotta give a game just to just purely to send a message, right? But overall, he's done a good job. Like, there's way less incidents this year, and it'll take something like this, where this is where you see what he really, what he's made of, I guess, in the sense of that, because it's a difficult one. Because a guy pushes official, is the official hurt? No, absolutely not. Should he have pushed him? No. Should he have? But he also, before that, people, if you watch the video, he also kind of shouldered the ref. So the player could watch this and be like, oh, what an idiot Kelman is. Yeah. But I'm not lying. Like, the guy knows he shouldn't have done it. It was a stupid thing to do. And it's like anything. Like, when a player does something dumb, right away you defend yourself. It's like, if not, think of how many times Joe Haddad trips a guy or elbows a guy and then looks up like, me? Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Oh, it's not, no, it couldn't be me. But every player does it because it's a natural reaction.
I think it's Brad Vaught syndrome, isn't it?
I think so. It kind of hovers above Cardiff. All players get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I mean, players know when they do something stupid. Every time I took a dumb penalty, I knew I did it, but it's not like I turned to my coach and went, yeah, that was stupid, I did it on purpose, No, you throw your arms up like it's the dumbest thing in the world. Referees are idiots, right? That's what everyone thinks, right? Yeah. I'm not actually saying you guys are idiots, but I'm saying that's what it thinks. When we beat Braehead probably go back and go, the ref's an idiot. When we lose to Sheffield, oh, the ref's an idiot. Refs have the hardest job in hockey, and it's funny when you talk, like, KHL guys come over, they're like, what's the best thing about? Your officials are really good. And we're thinking, wow, so our officials are actually better respected than our league in Europe, right? So we've got all these officials that can ref above our level of international play for Ice Hockey UK. So GB is at one level. Well, we've got officials above that level. So our officials are pretty well respected. So what's the point in... I have yet, maybe in 20 years of being involved in pro hockey, I've seen a referee dramatically change his mind 2 times, 3 times. And you can yell and you can complain, and that's what we tell all the players all the time. There is no point in yelling. Like, I asked Lordo, you could see it on the weekend. The ref comes over and we've got players screaming and yelling, and he asks Lordo, he tells Lordo. Lordo doesn't agree with the call. He tells Lordo we got, and Lordo goes, I go, what'd you say? And he said, I said, okay. Yeah. And then I skated away because...
You can't change it.
What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? And I think sometimes officials can get distracted by coaches or players yelling at them, but like, it's human nature. If I tell you that you're doing a crap job all day long, you're a terrible interviewer. You're
it's true. But,
yeah, I know. But like, like if I rip on you, I tear into you constantly. The next time you interview, is your back going to be up? Like, it's a subconscious thing maybe, but like, just just like
roll with it.
It's I've always, since I took it in management, it was the first thing I said to all the guys here. Don't complain to refs. It does us no good whatsoever. Yeah. So,
just finally, because I know you got a lunch order coming. Big weekend ahead. Coventry and Sheffield, kind of a wounded animal in Coventry. Sheffield, to take advantage, I suppose, of those 2 big wins up in the House of Steel. You really need to close out at home, and then the 30th anniversary game where you've got some big plans. Yeah.
So I mean, going to Coventry, it's, does anyone really want to be the team going into Coventry after three losses in a row? They'll, I'm sure their management has read the riot act to them. I'm sure their coach has read the riot act to them, and they know they need a win. And yeah, we're going in on the road into a tough building to play in anyways. But we'll be prepared, and we'll, all that aside, we know it doesn't change the fact, doesn't change our game plan against them. You don't ease up because the team lost the weekend before, especially in this league. This league's so good, it's so tight. Coventry could win 8 in a row now, It's actually a good thing that like the Scottish teams are doing that. It's a good thing that we can't go 3-3 in Scotland. It's probably the last time we ever do a triple header. But yeah, like it just shows how strong the teams are across the league now. And same with like Braehead. Like Braehead not being near the top of the league, it shows how strong the league is. It's nothing against the Clan. It's tough every night. You don't have these games where you can take a night off and play. Schedule in, play Sheffield, then schedule in Hull, or schedule in Edinburgh, or schedule in Fife. Those years are gone. Playing Sheffield at home, absolutely. Like we've had great success against them in Sheffield. They've had great success here in Cardiff. So I'd rather flip flop that. I'd rather be winning at home in front of my home crowd than grinding them out on the road. And I'm sure they'd be the same. But they'll be looking for redemption. They'll be looking to get back after losing. I mean, they had us. They had us on Friday night, and they know it. And they slipped up. And I saw Tomo's interview, and he said, they probably slipped up for 10 minutes. I think we were piling on the pressure for a while, and I think it was a really good effort by us to come back. They're such a good team. Those 2 goals that Freder scored were unbelievable. He's a really good player. If I didn't want Sheffield to lose every week, I'd really
like to watch him.
I love the way he plays. He's a great player. But they've got a handful of those guys. They don't have 1 or 2 guys that can do damage. They have like 6 or 7 guys, but so do we. So. Sunday will be fun. Sunday will be a really good game. And then next Wednesday, the man, the myth, the legend, John Lawless is coming in, the guy that started it all. He'll be in town. We wanted to bring him in for the 30th anniversary, and rightfully so. Like, everything that people cheer for and this logo that a lot of people have, worn proudly for the last 30 years is all because of him. And people always thank us for getting involved in ownership and running the team for the last couple of years, and really we wouldn't have had the opportunity without him. So I know what it is to run a team. I know how much work it is. I can't imagine starting it out fresh in a city that had never seen it before would have been. I bet, I can't wait to have a beer with him and hear the old stories. But I'm looking forward to meeting him. I have met him, and I didn't know it was him. For Stevie Lyle's testimonial, I was in the locker room with him, and I didn't know who he was, and he went out on the ice and he was shooting scoreboards, and I was just like, who's this ham? Like, and then someone said, oh, that's the guy. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the man. So I'm excited to meet with him and hear some of his war stories. I think it'll be cool. I think it's a lot to celebrate. We're going to be giving out commemorative posters to everyone. They're free. We're not charging for them.
That's good.
John Lawless will be here. We'll have 80s music going.
Beautiful.
We'll have a lot of fun stuff and some other X-Devils back in the house too. So
you coming with the flock of seagulls haircut, that sort of thing?
I will be, yes, absolutely.
Good.
You?
Of course.
Good.
Yeah, anything's better than this. Todd, we will let you get to your lunch, let you get to your meeting, but as ever, thanks for joining us on IceTime.TV, and thanks for the honesty.
Okay.